Well, everybody, this is Matt and Augie. Alex is not here tonight, as usual. So tonight with Wizard of Oz coming out, or Oz the Great and Powerful, or the, as I like to call it, Army of Darkness for kids. We decided to take a look at Sam Raimi's directorial filmography. He's probably most well known for Spiderman and Evil Dead. But
call it Army of Monkeys.
But he does have some other interesting films. But we do have to start off with the
originator.
Probably one of my favorite horror franchise of all time, the Evil Dead series. The first one's The Evil Dead. Really low budget movie. Sam Raimi, he's one of those directors who was able to make the most with what he had. Because during Evil Dead, he had actors come and go. They changed makeup. One scene, one of the demons in the basement's wearing a mask.
It's really one of the best B movies out there. It really, like, so many B movies just kind of like, they're like, okay, we get this monster, we'll have the monster stalk them, but like in this movie, Raimi's like really trying to actually like do new like things, creative things that you've never seen in a horror movie before, and it's way more creative and imaginative and just pulls out insane than most like A-list horror movies.
You look at all the camera angles he uses. He said that he took the camera and he attached it to a stick, attached to a tree, and they would spin that to get some of the shots. He used a lot of tracking shots that from the demon point of view. I think it's a really good movie. It's not my favorite of the series, but I like how it's legitimately scary.
Yeah.
Granted, that tree rape scene,
it can be seen as a little bit humorous.
Especially because you actually see penetration.
But see, that's the... Yeah.
It starts off, it's like cutting her, and then you see it go.
That's the thing. I think a lot of people mistaken this one as a black comedy horror movie, not just because of the sequel, but because it does have that B-moviness about it, which means some of the effects are pretty... it's hard to take them straight sometimes, but the movie is actually played completely straight for laughs, or not laughs, for horror, and it's totally trying to be an intense, in the words of Stephen King, the most grueling horror movie experience I've seen recently.
I definitely think at that time period it was one of the best.
Yeah.
Because the 80s was the slasher decade, basically, and this was a low-budget movie that was not about serial killers or, Granted, there's deaths in it, but it's not just gratuitous for the sake of it.
I don't know. The movie's pretty gratuitous.
No, it is, but it's not like Friday the 13th where it's like, it's all about the boobs.
Let's just kill them off.
And kill off teenagers.
Also takes the oft-used trope of the camera on the killer and makes something new with it. And it doesn't feel like a rip-off or just, another cliched thing that slasher movies usually do.
So, Evil Dead, I give it a high marks. Check it out. Remake's coming out. I'm really excited.
So excited.
I wouldn't be as excited if Sam Raimi and both him and Bruce Campbell weren't approving of it.
Yeah.
So that gives me hope.
Well, I actually think as great as the Evil Dead is for what it is, I think it's actually prime material for a remake because it was trying to be like a very serious, intense, and scary horror movie, and as great as the movie still is, some of that low budgetness kind of takes away a little bit from the scariness.
At times.
So I think updating it with modern effects is actually a good way to go, unlike what most remakes be doing.
After this, Sam Raimi did a film called Crimewave, which is basically... it hasn't been released because he's embarrassed by it, because he originally wanted Bruce Campbell to play the lead. They said he wasn't a bankable enough star, so they get some guy you've never heard of who's only made one other movie. The film was cut to like 80-something minutes. But
it's written by the Coen brothers.
And this started his collaboration with the Coen brothers, and he did second unit on stuff like the Hudsucker Proxy, Miller's Crossing. different stuff. So that's kind of how we started his relationship with them.
Come to think of it, now that you mention that, I can definitely see how he worked on the Hudsucker Proxy.
So yeah, basically after Crimewave, his career was in the tank. So he's like, shit, I gotta make another hit. So he goes,
Return to the Vault.
He goes, how about a sequel to Evil Dead? Dino De Laurentiis is like, okay. And I'm gonna go on record.
De Laurentiis didn't do this one.
Oh, that's right, he did Army of Darkness. But Evil Dead 2 is one of my favorite movies ever. It is awesome. I consider it one of the best movies of the 80s. It's just fun as hell. I saw it late night on cable when I was like 6. And it was done, and I was like, I have just watched one of the greatest movies of all time.
I think, for me, definitely, the reason why this is better is because it's still, even though obviously the budget is much bigger than the one in the first movie, the fact that it still has that B-moviness about it, by making it half horror, half comedy, really makes it, more accepting of
I think it's a
things.
horror film with comedic elements.
It goes into some
But it's like,
Stooges
I'm
territory.
going to say that I don't think a great horror film necessarily has to be entirely scary.
It doesn't at all.
But I gotta say, Bruce Campbell is the man in this movie. I mean, how Bruce Campbell did become like a major star after this movie?
He rivals the Three Stooges, and
Well, you can tell Raimi's a huge Three Stooges fan.
like with all the scene where he's beating himself up and he's like smashing plates.
That's not
in his
special
face.
effects. When he's throwing himself around and doing the flips, when he's put up in the thing and he's spinning around and he's screaming he wants to die.
The part when he like flips himself, I'm like, shit, that's
dedication.
incredible.
Of course, the scene where he cuts off his arm and then the arm flips him off.
What was the?
Then he puts a farewell to arms.
What does he say to the hand?
Who's laughing?
Who's laughing now? And I love the effect when he's like it has like the hands like it's like pulling him along the floor. He's like
dragging himself. It's out there, but it's just so entertaining.
You took my hand.
And, the scene with the eyeball coming out and then it goes in her mouth.
That just I fell on the floor. That part was so good.
It's just so funny.
It's so crazy.
It's just so frustrating how Bruce Campbell did not become a star after this movie. I mean, he shows so much talent in this movie. He shows more talent in this movie than I've seen Sam Worthington do in his whole career. Or Mark Wahlberg or any of these other...
And then, I was just going to say another thing. I can't remember that.
It's so... If you haven't seen it yet, I can't recommend this movie anymore. It's one of my 10 favorite movies ever. It's whenever Halloween rolls around, this is the first thing I go to.
And if, for some very odd reason, you don't have an interest in the first movie, but you have an interest in this one, don't worry, because the first 20 minutes are basically a remake of the original movie.
Yeah, just on a bigger budget, but
Yeah.
I don't think it hinders it.
No. Only if you're trying to do continuity-wise, which, speaking of continuity, we got one film in between. I'm jumping ahead, so we'll go to the next movie.
The next one is, Sam Raimi is known for being a huge comic book fan, and around this time was Tim Burton's Batman, which basically pushed the idea of dark, vigilante superhero movies.
And Sam Raimi wanted to do a shadow movie.
Which that fell apart, so he decided to make a similar movie, which is Darkman, which stars pre-A-list Liam Neeson.
Pre-Schindler's List.
Pre-Schindler's List, yeah.
And also pre-A-list Frances McDormand, also.
Yeah, who would later... He was the one who recommended her to the Coen brothers.
Mm-hmm. Good choice, Sam.
Yeah, good choice.
Good choice.
This film...
I think it's very enjoyable, but it's very uneven, too.
And also, I think it's hard to care. Because he's so unlikable.
Yeah, it's good mostly because of the Raimi-ness in it. And I think Liam Neeson's really good.
He's really good.
But it's like it feels like he's trying to do action.
He's trying to do the Shadow mixed with Batman.
Well, he's trying to do an action movie, but still on that lowish budget, which really shows in a lot of parts. Like some of the blue screening is awful. But there's a part where he's holding onto the helicopter, and it's some of the worst early '90s like green screening.
It's got really bad sequels too.
Haven't even bothered with those. However, I do think this is a better movie than the actual Shadow movie, though.
Well, Shadow was the.
Alec Baldwin.
Oh,
It's Russell McKay. He directed it too.
Oh god,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I hate this movie. It's just I don't like it.
I mean,
Like my thing is with Sam Raimi, I never have middle ground.
mm-hmm.
It's either the films of his I love, I adore, and the films of his I don't like, I really don't like. And then there's some that I just despise, which
we'll get to.
There's one coming up that I absolutely hate. I say I recommend. I say if you haven't seen it and you like,
I would say it's a good one to turn on, like when you're in it Saturday afternoon. Don't watch it with expectations, and it might surprise you.
yeah. Now we get to the controversial one. Evil Dead 2, of course, they wanted a sequel, which is notorious for having one of the most troubled productions in history. Originally,
Not going to help when you have Dino De Laurentiis making it.
well, originally Sam Raimi wanted to call it Medieval Dead, but Dino De Laurentiis said no. Army of Darkness. Okay, shitty title, but okay. The film,
One of the best posters ever.
yeah, it's got a great poster, and I really like it.
If you can separate it from the first two movies,
It's not an Evil Dead movie.
No, not at all.
It's because the Bruce Campbell character of Ash, it's not exactly the same character.
Well, I mean, even he's like, it's like even like the second movie, he's less of a pussy, frankly, than he was in the first movie.
This one, he's just bona fide action.
Because in the first movie, Ash is like
he's a wimp.
Yeah, he's a pretty big wimp. But in the second movie, he gets a little more confidence, but he's still that doofus Ash from the first movie. And then all of a sudden in this one, he's like full on like
The Cheesemo, he's got the chainsaw, he's got the boomstick.
He's got one-liners at every turn.
Speaking of which, I gotta say this is one of my most quoted movies ever.
However, those one-liners are excellent.
This is my boomstick.
Yo, she bitch. That stands.
Baby, you got real
Okay,
ugly.
that's actually my favorite one.
You want some hot chocolate?
Hail to the king, baby.
And
And Duke Nukem stole half of these lines.
yeah, Duke Nukem is
Like, all these people that are like they quote this line, it's like, yeah, Duke Nukem. It's like, nope, Army of Darkness.
I have to say, the plot, it's very simple, but I think that helps because
yeah.
not since Ray Harryhausen has there been better animatronic skeletons. They look awesome.
Yep,
And,
they do.
you know, this one, it's really goofy. I mean, the slapstick,
They play up.
it's a little heavy at times, but I think it works.
They play up the humor a lot.
Like, I think it's a really funny movie.
It's like if the first movie is a straight horror movie, the second movie is a horror comedy.
This one's just all out.
Yeah.
I'd say it's an adventure film with elements of. It's a comedy adventure with elements of horror.
Yeah.
Because there is some stuff in there that's a little, like the way I still think Raimi does demons better than almost anybody.
That's one of them. Even though I do think this is a really, really fun and good movie. That is one of the things I didn't like is the Deadites in it. They're just not the Deadites, really.
No, it's not.
There's like one Deadite in the very beginning when he's fighting in the
pit.
In the pit.
The pit bitch, as they call, as Sam Raimi calls it.
But like the thing is, there's another problem. The first two movies are gory as all hell, and
This one, because originally they wanted Sam Raimi pushed for an R rating.
Yeah.
That Dino De Laurentiis is like, no, it's got to be PG-13, which is why whenever they kill a Deadite, it just explodes into dust.
yeah, it's like you got a hero with a chainsaw.
And a shotgun.
Exactly, and he's going around and like, especially when he's using the chainsaw, it's like you don't see anything, and yeah, they just explode in dust.
What do you think of the different endings?
Even though I admire the original ending for being ballsy, I still think I would actually prefer the
Hail the King, baby.
the S-Mart ending.
Yeah, Hail the King, baby.
Yeah.
I'd say I like both endings. but I think the Hail the King Baby ending is more consistent with the movie.
Well, actually, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It fits more with the tone of the movie because it's like if the original ending of this had been the ending of the Evil Dead 2, maybe that would have actually been cool. But like it feels a little bit too dark in conjunction with
the rest of the movie.
The movie that came out.
I mean, it's still a good ending, but I think the Hail the King Baby ending, it's like it's so crazy. The zombie comes out of the deadite comes out of nowhere. Yeah. And he just starts blasting at it with a shotgun.
And then he just grabs Bridget Fonda in his arms.
Hail the King Baby. I'm gonna say it's my second favorite of the series.
I would say least favorite.
I think they're all really good movies, though.
Yeah.
Like I think out of all of them, this is the one that, even though Evil Dead 2 is my favorite, I think this is the one I quote more. Yeah. And I think this is the one that serves as the best introduction to the series.
I don't know
if you want like a really fun movie,
you'd be a little confused with the beginning, though. That's another thing. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, this film has no continuity.
This one proves that the Evil Dead movies just say fuck it with continuity, because the second movie remakes the first one like a little bit differently in the first 20 minutes, and then this one, the ending of it doesn't match, or the beginning doesn't match up at all with the ending of the second one. Like the end of the second one, the people are like, yes, he's coming to save us.
Because they think he's the one that's going to save them from.
But then, like the beginning,
and outside he's a slave.
In the beginning of this movie, they're like, no, imprison him. It's like, what? It's a little bit less greener pastures for his next output.
It's my least favorite film in his filmography.
Now, taking the zany energy that he created with Army of Darkness, Raimi figured he wanted to do a Western next. And I don't blame him, because the concept of the movie is pretty cool, and it was one of the hottest scripts around at the time. Like, it was one of those spec scripts that studios were just like fighting over, pretty much. But then, of course, he got some rewrites, from other people, and then the movie comes out, and it's, you know what it is? It's like, you know what it is? It's like Sam Raimi, like crazy movie fighting with a Sharon Stone vanity project.
Exactly. Well, the film was The Quick and the Dead. We should probably say what it is.
Yeah.
I hate this movie. The reason, I have two big reasons.
Well, there's many reasons.
I have two really big reasons. The first one is Sharon Stone. She is overacting so much in this movie. And it's like, she's supposed to be the stoic gunslinger. No, you don't hesitate when you're going to kill Gene Hackman. Don't fucking do that shit. And Sam Raimi, his camera angles that he does,
it's too
distracting. It doesn't work in a Western.
No, it doesn't.
Especially one that has really good period detail. Mm-hmm. Supporting cast is pretty bad, too. I mean, Russell Crowe's given nothing to do. Gene Hackman's reprising his role from Unforgiven.
Not even DiCaprio is good.
This is one of DiCaprio's worst performances, and that's not his fault, by the way.
Like, he's hot off getting an Oscar nomination for Gilbert Grape, and then he gets put into this, and it's like, wow, is this really the same actor that just...
And there was a sex scene with him and Sharon Stone that was cut.
Thank God.
Because he was, 21?
Barely. He looked like 16.
Yeah, I don't know what happened between him and Titanic. He just hit full-blown puberty in between the two of them. This movie, it's just...
Who's 20?
Pat Hingle, wasted.
Yeah. Kevin Conroy, though.
Lance Henriksen.
Okay, Kevin Conroy, Keith David, Lance Henriksen, Tobin Bell, Gary Sinise. There's so many
it's just,
characters.
The movie doesn't have a flow to it. It's just... I think another big issue is if this didn't come out right after Unforgiven, which was supposed to be, like, Eastwood wanted that to be the last Western ever, like, the last Western.
It pretty much is the last word on the Westerns.
For a while.
Yeah.
Until Proposition came out.
Mm-hmm.
That showed that, hey, we can actually make Westerns again. This movie, I think it's a really terrible movie.
I would say mediocre. It's... Maybe if it's on in the background, it can be slightly enjoyable, but
it's not engaging.
It's too slight, really, to be anything.
Too shallow.
Exactly. Too shallow and too. it's a bit too much of style over substance for you to remember it, really. It's just all flash, and it goes by, like, right away, and then once it's done, you don't remember it.
Ooh, and that's an interesting one. Go ahead.
Okay. The reason I say that is because when I saw A Simple Plan, his next movie after Quick and the Dead, I had absolutely no expectations for it. I didn't really know much about it except for the cast. And I heard it was a good movie, but I wasn't going in thinking, okay, I'm going to see, like, you know, one of the new classics. And when it was done, it turned out to be one of my favorite movies of the 90s and one of my favorite Sam Raimi movies. It actually, coincidentally, it's actually very similar to my favorite Western, which is The Naked Spur, where you have a trio of people that come across like a cache of money, and you think, like, okay, they're going to hold on to it, and they're going to split it 3 ways, but they're not going to tell anybody about it. And then just as the movie goes on, they just slowly get more and more consumed by their greed, and the tension just keeps mounting. And the 3 actors in it are fantastic. You got Bill Paxton, you got Billy Bob Thornton, and Bridget Fonda, who I never really thought of Bridget Fonda all that much before this, except for Jackie Brown, but she's pretty much just playing a dumb blonde in that movie. But this one, she really steps it up, I think. And Paxton and Thornton are great as always. It's tense all the way through. You really get the bond and the relationships between the characters, especially between Thornton and Paxton, who play brothers. And it just really hits you with an emotional gut punch at the end that I was not expecting. And it turns out to be one of my favorites. I think I would say it's my second favorite Raimi movie, actually. Thoughts?
It's an excellent movie. It improves upon the book. Probably Billy Bob Thornton's best work.
Especially in the ending.
Other than Bad Santa.
Yeah. And in the ending of the movie, like, Thornton was just like, I felt like Thornton was just like,
the Oscar.
I felt like Thornton was just like reaching into my heart and being like, cry.
Cry, bitch.
And I was like, don't worry, I am. It's like,
the next one I haven't seen in a very long time, so you'll have to.
I haven't seen it. Oh wait, For the Love of the Game? Actually, okay. Another of Kevin Costner's baseball movies. Man, guy sure loves baseball. And it doesn't live up to those. It doesn't have the mysticism of Field of Dreams, and it doesn't have the kind of screwballness of Bull Durham. And it tries to play it really straight, and in the end, it just comes out as dull and bland and forgettable. It's not, like, there's never a thing in the movie that was bad, but it's just, I remember watching it, and even though it's only, I think, 2 hours, it's over 2 hours. I remember it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I thought I was watching a 3-hour movie. It just felt so long and languid, and just the relationship between Costner and Kelly Preston just doesn't have much life to it, and it just feels like milquetoast, like sports movie making. Really, it doesn't stand out all that much to me, and not really a criticism of it, but it doesn't feel like a Sam Raimi movie. It feels like this was a work for hire job, and he didn't really put as much heart or effort into it as his other stuff. Now, his next one after, have you seen The Gift?
Yes.
Okay, because I haven't. So this will be your turn for this one.
It's okay.
Okay. In case you can't hear, Matt says it's okay.
I'm sorry, it's one of those films I haven't seen in a very long time.
It has Cate Blanchett, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess we're not going to get much out of him. Now,
You can take this one.
this is where it gets really interesting, because this is when, even though Sam Raimi had been making movies in Hollywood throughout he had been making Hollywood movies for all the 90s. This was the Spider-Man movie was really his first like huge calling card for like his entry into Hollywood. And while it hasn't aged as well as I remembered it, I still think it holds up pretty well. It had, first of all, I thought Sam Raimi was a perfect choice to helm a Spider-Man movie. His crazy camera angles and the comedy of his movies really fits well with the style of Spider-Man. It's a really light, fun, zippy movie. Even though Spider-Man doesn't have his wisecracks, I think the movie is fun enough to make up for that. And despite being hamstrung by a truly atrocious costume, Willem Dafoe was excellent as the Green Goblin. He was really, really good as it. It's just the scenes where he's talking to himself in the mirror. To come out like the same year as Gollum in Two Towers, like surely it couldn't have been that much of a coincidence. But it's just, in the end, it's not one of the best superhero movies, but I think it's really super fun, and I think that Tobey Maguire doesn't have that many supporters in these last few years, but I think he does a really great job, especially in the pivotal scene where Uncle Ben dies and Spider-Man has his rage moment. Go ahead.
Oh boy, I'm gonna get crucified by the public.
You should mention that you still like it, though.
I still like this movie. I'm a huge Spider-Man is the individual superhero I read the most growing up. Nowadays it's Batman because I'm older and
Yeah.
this is the movie that made me a comic book movie fan because this was a phenomenon when it came out.
Everybody
saw it. Even people who had never read a comic in their life went to see it. It's like Tim Burton's Batman. Like Tim Burton's Batman, it dates horribly. Not as badly as Batman.
Okay. But it does have the special effects really don't work nowadays.
No, especially because the sequel came out 2 years later. It looks so much better. Willem Dafoe is great. He steals the movie. But that costume, I don't know who the hell came up with that costume. But they deserve to be fired because it looks horrendous.
I wouldn't have minded the actual suit part if the mask had been changed.
Yeah, the mask,
because you have this character and this actor who's just so animated and can do so much.
Especially
with his
if you put
face.
like the Jim Carrey mask.
Yeah.
Put something like that. What and allows the actor to still do his facial expression. Because you look at the guy.
Yeah.
He's scarier without the mask. And he has all the facial expressions. And it's just stupid how the eyes keep rolling back.
Yeah. And then even the mouth opens up too.
As far as the origin goes, it does a very good job of telling the origin. Sam Raimi's a huge fan, and it shows. I still stand by my criticism that Kirsten Dunst is a horrible Mary Jane, although she does get better material. I don't like the script. The script in this movie is not as polished as it could be. It feels very 60s comic book-esque.
Well, that's exactly what they were doing.
I know, but it doesn't work in 2002 when it came out. Some of the lines that Mary Jane and Peter exchange, when they're outside, it doesn't seem natural, stuff that high school kids would say. J.K. Simmons. That is
perfect.
That's
he is
now whenever I look at a comic, I'm like, that's J.K. Simmons.
You have to think of him with that voice.
Parker. Cliff Robertson's very good. Rosemary Harris. James Franco's doesn't get a lot to do in this movie, but
my favorite of the Bruce Campbell cameos.
No, my favorite's the second one because he's such a dick.
But he gives Spider-Man his name.
What's your name? Human Spider. That's the best you got? Yeah. It sucks.
Crap.
Sucks.
Amazing Spider. And Bonesaw.
Bonesaw's baby. I'm gonna say that's the only time where Tobey Maguire's really good. In costume.
In the wrestling scene.
Where he's like, that's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you? Which Archer totally kind of borrowed.
Yeah.
I still have issues that Peter is not proactive enough. when he finally killed, I'm sorry, he killed the burglar. Even though they make it look ambiguous, he
backed up and
but
he
went like this, and I just don't like that, and it would make no other sense why he would go out like in the Amazing Spider-Man. I know I don't want to draw comparisons.
Yeah.
At least they make it very evident that he never caught the guy, and that's why he does the outfit.
True.
It's like all of a sudden he just shows up as Spider-Man, and it comes off as really weird. And I'm sorry that scene at the parade at the fair.
Macy Gray.
It's horrible. But that last fight, that fist fight, that's so awesome. Like the choreography, the shot of the bomb going off in his face, and he goes flying backwards. Granted, it looks like it was shot on a Hollywood backlot set, but
he pulls the wall down on the goblin, and it's like a horror movie moment when the goblin's hand comes out. He's like
that's
getting out.
So yeah, all in all, I think it's a good movie. It's just it's certainly responsible for setting the groundwork. It's just ironically,
I would say even more so than Batman. This is what solidified, and X-Men. This is what solidified.
Even more so than X-Men.
Yeah.
This was a huge hit.
This is what solidified comic book movies as big hits.
It's just I think it doesn't age well, and I don't like either of the leads. So I'd give it a 2.5 out of 4.
Say 3.
All right.
But now,
oh my God. You go.
So, some polishing on the script and the special effects and the actors, and you got one incredible sequel here in Spider-Man 2. Okay, the villain is better, the hero is better, the love interest is written better, the humor is better. Pretty much every single thing about this movie is better than the original in every way. They change up Doc Ock enough to where he's a much more interesting character and actually really sympathetic, and it works. And although it does have a great villain scene for him where he wakes up with the arms in the hospital. It's such a this one is so much more Evil Dead than the first one, and it's almost too much, but I like it anyway. In the scene when all the tentacles come alive and they're attacking the doctors, and it's got the same tilted angles and zoom ins. It's all of a sudden the Deadites just took over the movie, and then firstly, and also the special effects are much better. They don't have that same weightless paper feeling like they do in the first movie. The action is improved. I can watch that train scene all day. That train scene should be the blueprint for anybody looking to make a comic book superhero action scene. It's just, it takes full advantage of the environment, the choreography of I shouldn't say actors, they're more special effects. The choreography of the characters is dynamic and really edge your seat, and just really throws you through a loop around every corner. And there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think, really. Even J.K. Simmons somehow improves on himself in this one too. You back from your orgasm over there? Think about it. I'm not sure how much I can keep going, except just completely showering love all over it. Danny Elfman does himself one better, even though him and Raimi kind of had a falling out during the movie. And I don't think that, I didn't mention it with the first movie, but I don't think people give Danny Elfman enough credit for his theme, because personally, this is one of my favorite movie themes of all time. And there's something about the theme that really feels like a theme for a spider. It has kind of that, it does have a little bit of that, Danny Elfman / Tim Burton scoreness in it, which I think works really well for the fact that you're about a human spider.
But Spider-Man has to be aesthetically the opposite of Batman.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Not only is this my favorite comic book movie, it's my favorite Sam Raimi movie, it's my third favorite movie of all time.
It's my favorite Raimi movie too.
I've seen this movie, no bullshit, 100 times. It's awesome. It's probably the best. Even I know Dark Knight gets a lot of love, but this really, because Batman Begins and Dark Knight I put on the same level. This is miles above.
This really captures the feel of,
because it takes everything that was set up in the first one and builds on it.
Yeah.
You know, the relationships. Peter's more proactive. Mary Jane's more proactive. The villain is not just the one-dimensional. I'm going to kill the superhero. This one is probably the first superhero movie that has like an honest emotional resonance to it. You know, what?
That's just, for some reason, I just thought of the scene in Batman and Robin where Mr. Freeze is looking at his wife and there's the tear in his eyes.
Don't go there.
Come on, Joel Schumacher did it first.
It's got fantastic action, great soundtrack. I mean, whoever thought of putting a B.J. Thomas song in a Spider-Man movie? Sharp screenplay. Everybody's better in terms of performance-wise, and it's everything I want. And it's not only a superhero movie; it's everything I want in a movie. You know, it's engaging, it's thought-provoking, but it's still fun.
And why didn't Dylan Baker become the Lizard?
Yeah, I know.
Such a missed opportunity. Such a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's that good.
I'm trying to think of some
Bruce Campbell's cameo.
It's like I want.
Can I help you?
I want to keep talking about how great this is, but like I'm trying to.
I've written so many pieces about this. I've talked about this movie enough.
Oh, actually, no, that's what it was. And this superhero movie does what I think more superhero movies should do is instead of just being just about like, you know,
the hero versus the villain.
The hero versus the villain, and you know, they have the love interest, and you know, maybe they have a few problems with themselves. It really has like the feeling of like capturing the feeling and really conveying it to us what the difficulties are of being a superhero.
Yeah, like he can't hold a steady job. He loses friends.
Pretty much, he has all the problems we have, on top of having to save the world every other day, pretty much.
And it's still fun. You know, there's that whole opening scene where he's delivering pizzas. I mean, right away that sets the mood. And he stole that guy's pizza. I still think the funniest scene is when Jonah's in the office and he's like, Spider-Man was a hero, and he steals the costume.
Yeah, he's
a thief!
Child. Yeah, he's got the costume on.
Honey,
okay.
The wedding's off. Tell them not to open the caviar.
One of my favorite deleted scenes ever is the one where Jonah puts on the costume and he's like jumping around his office like whoosh, whoosh, and like everyone else is like looking at him. Like,
Boss, your wife's on the line and says she lost the checkbook. Thanks for the good news.
Hold the caviar. It's like
yeah, this is easily Marvel's best too. I mean, this set the standard for sequels. That for some reason Marvel hasn't seemed to. Granted, they haven't done a lot of sequels, but the ones they have
well, that's because now they're all sucked up in creating
a universe
and interquels and all that stuff.
Oh, that's next.
Oh boy! Okay, if Spider-Man 2 is if Spider-Man 1 is the start of the Jenga tower being built up, or if the first one is the Jenga tower being built up, and the second movie is that final piece of the puzzle that just clinks together perfectly and soundly, like this just perfectly designed skyscraper. Spider-Man 3 is the toppling over of the tower in so many ways that it's almost unfathomable how like they went from such a great movie to such a huge misfire in so many aspects. Now, even though I just called it a huge misfire, I think this is actually half an almost great Spider-Man movie, but then half a terrible one, because I can tell that even though Raimi had to deal with the studio forcing in other characters, I can tell that he still like really wanted to make a good movie, and there are so many scenes in it that just if they had a better movie around them, they would be fantastic. The action even though it's not up to the train sequence in the second one, it's even like
Collectively, it's the best in the series.
the action is even crazier than ever. The special effects are fine-tuned even more perfectly than they were in the second one. And I think for the good, like, first half hour or maybe 40 minutes, it's actually pretty great, I think.
Damn it, you stole my point.
And it's, like, it really gives you hope for the rest of the movie. Oh my god. Damn it.
Here, grab a piece.
Thank you.
It was sitting in my fridge, and I was like,
Might as well use up.
I was going to say, I really loved this movie up until the black suit. Once the black suit starts, the tone of the movie totally derails. They start throwing too much in. And it's not horrible by any means. Like, people talk about this as being the worst superhero movie.
There's some horrible scenes.
There's some scenes that make me cringe. Like, let's see. All right, the dance scene, it makes no sense. And Willem Dafoe is sitting in the bar, which makes no kind of sense. There's the scene where he's dancing in the street, you know, looking at girls. It's like the suit is supposed to make him this evil person. Like, it brings out his dark side. This just turns him into a even bigger of a dork.
Well, see, the thing is, like, the people who defend that say that, well, if Peter Parker was trying to act bad, that's what Peter would be. He would be dorky bad.
That's not what it is in the comics.
But I think, well, even if it wasn't, even if you take the comics out of it, I think it goes too much into just
like played for laughs, which is not what should be happening.
But it's played too much for laughs. Like, it's played too much like this, like it's almost like the Nutty Professor when he turns into
Buddy Love.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's a really good comparison, actually.
And now, just imagine that if you're watching a Spiderman movie, a pretty cool one, and then all of a sudden it turns into the Nutty Professor.
But I do think the big problem is they're trying to do too much.
Way too much.
I think Sam Raimi
It should be a 3-hour movie.
This should have been 2 movies.
Yeah.
Because Harry should have been the main villain.
Wait, hold on. There's 3 main villains here.
And they all suck. I'm going to touch on each one individually. Harry had the most potential because they set it up so well at the end of 2.
And then Amnesia.
Then they take him out of the movie just to set up other characters.
The other 2.
Sandman, the only reason he's here is because, hey, Dr. Octopus got a lot of love for being a sympathetic villain. Let's do the same thing. But Sandman's not sympathetic. It's a sob story. He deliberately says, I am not a bad person, but you're killing people.
He's also... Well, he's the villain that Sam Raimi wanted for it. So he was supposed to be really...
Well, if he was just a thug like he should have been.
Yeah.
And then they go back to the origin. But not only do they do that, they change it.
Some of the worst retconning and most egregious
And
stuff
why do
I've
they...
seen.
Peter brings up a very good point. When they had witnesses, why did they never point that out? I mean, yeah, it makes the script so incoherent. And then we get to Venom. I had no issue with Venom being in the movie. I was like, great. I'm happy that we're finally going to get... I'm not a huge Venom fan. I never have been.
I think even if you take out Harry and you take out Sandman, the Venom stuff with the black suit and Venom could have taken up their own whole movie.
Hell, the black suit could have been the whole movie.
Yeah.
And he fights Sandman on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Topher Grace is horrible in this movie. He's a decent actor. You know, he's not... He has...
But he's really miscast.
He's horribly... Like, Venom is supposed to be like twice the size of Spider-Man.
And he's also supposed to be like this tough
He's like a jock.
Yeah.
Topher Grace is smaller than Spider-Man, first of all.
Yeah, and Topher Grace just kind of comes off as this...
Wimp. Insecure wimp.
This cocky dweeb.
And then when he gets the suit, you know, Venom looks awesome. But then they do the stupid thing of him pulling the face back.
And Topher Grace has fangs in his mouth just to complete it.
It's so stupid. And then I love how the movie is all about, like, you know, it's all about forgiveness.
Yes.
But the one character who makes the right decision has to die.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, he lets Sandman go, which is fucking stupid.
And if you think about it, Sandman's story isn't even complete yet. He hasn't even like fixed or got his daughter money yet.
Exactly. And then Venom gets killed, you know, which is like the ultimate FU to the fans. And then Harry, you know, they do. he gets his pretty much he should have been killed when Peter threw a bomb in his face.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And all of a sudden, the butler comes out of nowhere and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've been meaning to tell you this for a while."
The butler in this one is there. He's like he's like Alfred in The Dark Knight Rises, where he walks in just for like exposition and to telling stories.
Kind of reminds me of what's his name from Archer.
Oh, Woodhouse. Yeah. It sounds like Woodhouse too.
Harry has been one of your prostitutes. She can't go to the hospital because she's, quote, tripping balls. Tripping balls. And then he dies, which, that came out of left field.
I think if the movie had just focused on him and Sandman, it made Sandman more villainous. I think having his death at the end
would have had resonance.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it just comes out of nowhere because he makes the right decision and then...
Well, he makes the right decision, and then 5 minutes later, that's when he's killed.
Yeah. And then his arc is so stupid though. Like, alright, the biggest issue was Mary Jane.
Hold on. You mean the arc of amnesia?
No,
and
I'm
then
talking
magical
about
reinvention?
the Mary Jane thing.
Oh.
Now, what would have been interesting, Sam Raimi said he wanted, originally that he was faking amnesia. So we could get closer to them.
That would have been good.
That would have been fine. But then Mary Jane is horribly written in this movie.
She just whines and whines.
She whines, she complains, but also there's that scene where Harry tells her to break up with Peter. Yeah. She knows he's Spider-Man, so why doesn't she just tell him that Harry's doing this so he can go take care of Harry?
Yeah.
It's just stupid. Again, a lot of good ideas. I mean, this has one of my favorite trailers ever.
We haven't even mentioned that they also try to shoehorn in Gwen Stacy in this too for no reason.
And her father.
Like, at this point in the story, there was no reason for Gwen Stacy to be in the movie. I mean, her father could be in it, but like, there's no point of her being in
She's just window dressing.
She's only there to create more drama with Mary Jane, and that is not what we need with Mary Jane in this movie. We do not.
You know what happens? She gets kidnapped again.
Okay, yeah. I'm fine with her being kidnapped again in the end of the second movie, but to do it in this one is just like, okay, again with this? Like, really?
And I love how Venom and Sandman's like, oh, hey, you look evil and menacing. You hate Spider-Man? Hey, me too. Let's team up.
Well, that's another thing. Not only does Harry get amnesia, so he's taken out of the movie, but Sandman completely disappears after the subway fight, too. And then he reappears at the end. So it's like, the first third is Harry's movie. And then the middle is Sandman. And then the end, they try to shoehorn in Venom with the whole black suit stuff. And then in the final bit, they try to throw all three of them together, and the movie just completely collapses.
Now, what do you rate this movie?
As much of a mess as it is, I would say 2.
I'm with you on that.
Because there are, as I said, there are many parts that are really great. I think the best action scene in the whole series is the first fight between him and Harry.
Oh.
When they're like in the streets and then they're going through the alleyways, and there's that really cool moment where like the ring like flies through the air and he tries to grab it with the web. I love the way Harry gets knocked out. Is such a perfect like Sam Raimi like taking out the villain way. He's just like slamming into like all these pipes. It's the ground. It's just like shit. It's such a sadistic way of taking out the villain without actually killing him.
Usually the worst of the three. Kind of wish he did 4.
And as much as people, haters of the new one, would like to say, no, it is not better than the new one. It is not better than the new movie. Yeah, wish the fourth one could have worked out, but once again, Sony's just trying to pull the strings.
They ain't giving up those rights.
Yeah, and they just couldn't. It's like
they're fighting that mouse off.
It's almost like Sony couldn't realize that without them interfering so much, he made the second movie, and then when they made the third one, they did that's when the third one came out. And even though the third one made the most money of all of them, they could have been a little smart about it. But no.
That third one came out in the summer of the 3s, and they all sucked. So.
Yeah, that was.
That was a warning sign of things to come.
That was the summer.
And they all came out 2 weeks apart.
Exactly.
But then Sam Raimi went back to his roots and made a really good movie.
Drag Me to Hell. Yep.
I was expecting nothing. I went in there saying this is gonna suck, and but then I saw the tongue-in-cheek nature.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what Sam. It's a very funny movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's
like he's trying to recapture that Evil Dead spirit, where it's the mix of horror and comedy. And there are a couple parts that actually really sent chills down my spine before making me laugh my ass off. Like the scene in the car,
Yeah.
which I think is the best scene in the movie. Starts, it's such a creepy scene at first, because you have that handkerchief wisping through the air, and it's floating around. She's watching it, and there's that panning shot, turning around, and all of a sudden the old lady's right there, and you're like, oh shit, oh my god, and then all of a sudden. And then it's such a great transition because all of a sudden they start hitting each other, and the girl grabs the staplers, staples the woman's eyes shut. The funniest part is when she sticks the ruler in the woman's mouth, and she's like, and then it shoots out like a projectile.
They use the Evil Dead shot with the eye.
Yeah.
They follow the ruler. We should probably explain what the movie's about.
It's
kind of like
it's some supernatural shit, really.
It's basically she's like an attorney, right?
Yeah. The main character is an attorney, and there's this woman who comes to her to try to get help. I think she's trying to get a loan.
Yeah, she's trying to get a loan for the house.
Yeah. But the main character turns her down because she doesn't think, she can give it to her. And then, in a revenge.
Classic Raimi moment.
Yeah, the old woman she's a witch, and she puts this curse on the girl, and then just all sorts of weird shit just starts happening. It's not like Evil Dead where they read the book and it's okay, Deadites coming to attack them. Here it's like dreams and hallucinations. You got this possessed goat in one part.
It's so out there, but it's like Evil Dead 2. It's so out there, but it's so entertaining.
And I think
ironically,
actually having basically a female Ash works really well.
Yeah,
actually, I think Allison.
I want to say ironically,
really convinces.
He was offered Thinner, the Stephen King. I mean, he should be happy he didn't get it.
Oh yeah.
But he uses a lot of the elements of that.
He really does.
Book of that film in this, and does it better, I think.
Now, I do love this movie. I would say it's a 3.5 out of 4. I think it's one of the best.
I think it's one of the best horror films of the last 10
is.
years.
I think what keeps
it from a 4 for me is the.
I would say the ending.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just it takes me out of the rest of the movie.
It feels a little bit cliche, and the special effects are really hideous in that final part too. It just was kind of like a letdown, and I think also the final third also doesn't really have the best pacing of it. It doesn't really feel as much like it. It feels like it really climaxes in the scene with Avatar guy trying to trying to move the spirit into the goat.
I was laughing in the
oh my
theater.
god, the part where the goat gets possessed and it's like,
it shows that a PG-13 horror film is still.
It's one of the biggest.
You could still do it well.
One of the biggest what the fuck moments.
I think it's a lot of fun.
I can watch this again a lot.
It's just so ridiculous. I went to go see it with some buddies, and we just had a great time.
And I had to watch it again in theaters 2 weeks later after having one of the worst theater experiences ever. Actually, probably the worst theater experience in my life.
We're Drag Me to Hell?
Yeah, remember I told you about the...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
With the 3 obnoxious, loud, of course, black women. Stereotypes have truth, people. They have truth.
Especially in movie theaters. Go to New York City, it's full of them. So now we come to his newest film, which is a film that I've seen. I went to a screening, and he has yet to see.
Nope.
Oz the Great Powerful.
Well, because it's not out yet.
Yeah, it comes out Friday. I'm going to keep it spoiler-free. I'm just going to give my quick thoughts. It's alright. It's the first film where I could say it's okay.
As long as it's better than Alice in Wonderland.
It is, because unlike Alice in Wonderland, there's a consistency to the plot, and although it does suffer from prequelitis, where it's like, okay, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this.
I had that fear too, where they felt the need to connect the dots.
Like a certain character turns into something else, and
well, come on, we wanted that to happen.
I gotta say that the all three witches are excellent. Although I think Rachel Weisz is the best of the three. She's also the best actress of the three.
Yeah.
So James Franco's good.
Zach
Braff is actually really funny. I mean, that scene in the trailer where he sneezes away the plan, that's actually really funny, the way it's done in the movie. Bruce, I'm not going to spoil Bruce Campbell's part, but it's awesome.
Apparently, Raimi also somehow figured out a way to cram in the requisite Oldsmobile cameo, too.
Yeah. And it starts off like The Wizard of Oz, where it starts off black and white, anamorphic.
Well, that's the thing from the trailer. That's what was cool. Not only were they doing the sepia tone black and white, but in this one, because it's a new movie, they have it start in full screen too, like the classic movie, and then all of a sudden, open up to super widescreen.
Turns to anamorphic widescreen, which is a really nice touch. I guess my issue with it is very cookie cutter. My buddy I went to go stay with, he called it Army of Darkness for kids, because you have the reluctant hero who gets taken out of his own period and is told you have to save Oz from everybody else, and it does get a little too kiddie at points.
It feels like a studio special effects movie.
It's better than I'll spoil it.
Yeah.
So, least favorite film, Spider-Man 2 and
It's
Quick and the Dead.
Spider-Man, okay, top 3 from 3 to 1. Evil Dead 2, Simple Plan, Spider-Man 2. Yeah, I guess I would say, let's say 2. Because the worst is Quick and the Dead. Most boring, for the love of the game.
Well, it's Kevin Costner.
I think he can be good.
No, he can.
But this is one of his...
And only 2 movies.
Not good movies.
JFK and Dreams. It's just... It is boring as shit.
What are we watching tonight?
Nothing. Just gotta take a quick sabbatical and come back. Why don't you make your list? Well, everybody, this is Matt and Augie. Alex is not here tonight, as usual. So tonight, with Wizard of Oz coming out, or Oz the Great and Powerful, or the, as I like to call it, Army of Darkness for kids, we decided to take a look at Sam Raimi's directorial filmography. He's probably most well known for Spider-Man and Evil Dead.
Call it Army of Monkeys.
But he does have some other interesting films. But we do have to start off with the
originator.
Probably one of my favorite horror franchise of all time, the Evil Dead series. The first one's The Evil Dead. Really low budget movie. Sam Raimi, he's one of those directors who was able to make the most with what he had. Because during Evil Dead, he had actors come and go. They changed makeup. One scene, one of the demons in the basement's wearing a mask.
It's really one of the best B movies out there. It really, like, so many B movies just kind of, like, they're like, okay, we get this monster, we'll have the monster stalk them, but like in this movie, Raimi's like really trying to actually like do new like things, creative things that you've never